on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here for NXT on Off the Script. This is your review for March 11th, 2020. And my goodness, man, if you guys watched that show last night, you will have seen the greatest brawl in NXT history. I did not expect any of that to happen. I did not expect anything like that to happen at the Performance Center between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. The only thing is, amidst this big, chaotic, intense brawl, I am wondering, and I hope I'm wrong, I have not heard anything in regards to Johnny Gargano's well-being, but it looked like at the end of that brawl, as they flew off the Eagle's Nest, or the little platform there above the NXT commentary table, we seen Tommaso Ciampa air raid crash Johnny Gargano down through the commentary table, and he immediately went for his left shoulder. Now, I don't know if Johnny Gargano is the greatest seller of all time, or if he's legitimately injured. I pray to God that he's okay, because as soon as I seen that, the first thought that was in my head is, man, oh man, the final match between these two has to be cursed. So I am going to keep a close eye on everything regarding Johnny Gargano, and man, oh man, that brawl was fantastic. We're going to go over it in detail right here on the podcast. North American Championship was on the line last night between Keith Lee and Cameron Grimes. I expected a little bit more, but maybe Cameron Grimes is not done yet with the North American Championship. We got Dijakovic, we got Damian Priest. Cameron Grimes is throwing his hat into the fold, literally. So we'll go over that. And Keith Lee is the North American champion still after last night. The Dusty Tag Team Classic winners, who are now the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Broserweights, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. They had a rematch from TakeOver, and they went up against the Undisputed Era. This was a rematch from TakeOver Portland, but outside of their issues, we have the grizzled young veterans who are making a claim at the NXT Tag Team Championships. So we'll go over that as well, and the closing moments of that rematch from TakeOver Portland. And we got the ladder match coming up at TakeOver Tampa, which at this juncture, I don't even know if that's happening or not, which I'll discuss in a second. But we got a ladder match happening right now, tentatively, at TakeOver Tampa for the women. And this is going to be a 6-woman ladder match to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, being that the Women's Championship will not be on the line at TakeOver because of one android challenging the NXT Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, at WrestleMania. So we'll go over that. A few questionable outcomes in this qualifier on last night's show. So we'll go over that as well, plus everything else that happened on NXT last night right here on Off the Script. It was a very weird episode. It was a very weird episode, and I'm just getting texts. Just getting texts here. Hold on. It's just crazy, man, the situation. I got people updating me just as we go here, because I told a few of my close buddies that I was going to be recording the NXT podcast this afternoon, and it was going to bleed in to the announcement coming up at 1:30. WrestleMania at this time, when you guys watch this, when it's uploaded, it might already be postponed, or worst yet, canceled for the time being. But it was a weird episode for me, because I watched, and like I usually do every week, I watch Dynamite every single week, and I pay attention to what's happening on that show. I usually take detailed notes because it's usually very wrestling heavy. Same thing with NXT, so I gotta have my focus on the 2 hours on Dynamite. But when I finished watching Dynamite and I came here to record the podcast for last night, if you guys missed it, link will be down below. Go and check it out. Jake Roberts unveiled Lance Archer, and we got some blood and guts build for their big show, which right now could be pushed back. Everything is just being pushed back or canceled, postponed. Everything is being affected by what is going on in the world right now with the outbreak. And it's crazy because I'm watching Dynamite, I'm doing my thing, I do the podcast, I lay in bed with my iPad and I watch NXT. And my attention was partially on NXT because everything that I had missed during Dynamite, we had so many things going on. Tom Hanks and his wife, his son putting out a statement, the NBA season's being canceled for now. NHL, I'm sure, is going to follow suit. We got this one and that one infected. Everything in sports is coming to a halt. MLB, I am sure, is going to be postponing their season. I read today that most of the games might be taking place not in their scheduled places. I don't know what's going on. I heard that most of the games are going to be taking place in Arizona. I'm hearing some of them might be in Orlando or Miami or Florida, wherever they usually have spring training. I don't know what's going to happen with anything, but as of right now, the way it seems, it's like my focus isn't on whatever happened last night. It's trying to go over and I would say watch and just be amazed at what's going on right now. I don't think we've ever sat in on something that has happened like this, to this severity in our lifetime. And it's got everybody on high alert. It's got everybody in panic mode. It's 1 p.m. right now on a Thursday afternoon. I just got back from Walmart just to go get some little things here and there for the house. I didn't expect to go get toilet paper and water. Again, I mentioned this, I believe, on the Monday Night Raw review. Literally, people in panic mode. I've never seen Walmart so crowded. And it's during the week, middle of the week here. You know, kids are home from school. Schools are closed. Everything that was going on last night kind of, it took a back seat to what is going on in the world right now because we are just so enthralled with what's going on because we've never been a part of anything like this. And it's got everybody anxious. It's got everybody on high alert. It's scary because I never want to be put in a situation where I'm told I can't leave my house or, if I'm ill, who am I going to get infected? Is it going to be in my town? It's just a crazy situation right now. So I want to let you guys know if I'm not all there, if I missed something with the NXT review last night because my attention was somewhere else, please forgive me because you guys know if you watch me every week how detailed I am with this stuff. So if I miss anything, I apologize in advance. But just like all my other podcasters in the community or my fellow podcasters in the community, our attention right now is not solely on pro wrestling on Wednesday night. And the fucked up thing is, it's NBA is canceling its season or postponing its season for now. The NCAA March Madness stopped. XFL probably gonna, postpone their championship game coming up in April or postpone the rest of their season. I think some of the games are being contested in empty arenas or empty stadiums. NHL, MLB, all this stuff. And the funny thing is, pro wrestling is absolutely on high alert because out of all the other sports, I think pro wrestling and something, this is something people aren't talking about. Pro wrestling out of all the other sports has the biggest contact to contact out of all the other sports that I just mentioned. Person to person contact. The biggest risk is pro wrestling. Now, what if someone in pro wrestling catches something and they infect someone? Who knows what's going to happen? Pro wrestling could absolutely come to a standstill for the time being. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So if I miss something on the NXT review, again, I apologize in advance, but it's just a crazy 24 hours, man. It seemed like everything was just like dominoes. Like dominoes falling one after the other last night during Dynamite and then obviously into this morning. So it's just crazy situations right now, man. But we'll talk about what happens with WrestleMania, and we'll talk about what the city of Tampa says in regards to WrestleMania, what the WWE is doing as they have backup plans in place for SmackDown and Raw and all other shows moving forward. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on with WrestleMania as far as the build. What happens if WrestleMania is postponed? What happens if WrestleMania is canceled? Are they going to stop the build? What if WrestleMania has to take place in the summertime and they push it back? Are they going to stop the builds for the matches and the storylines that they have in place now and go in a different direction and then revisit that? I'm a pretty creative individual when it comes to this type of shit. I don't know what they would do. I don't know what they would do because we're nearing the end. Or the beginning, however you see it, because some of these things don't have any stories going into WrestleMania. Maybe this would put WWE's back against the wall to a point where they have to come up with compelling stories to lead into a summer WrestleMania. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm a pretty creative individual. How does WWE even go about doing a WrestleMania and stalling the current storylines with what's going on? It's crazy. It really is crazy. We're going to talk about all that on Friday. I just wanted to get that out there. I want to give you guys a little bit of what I'm thinking about in regards to all this stuff. So thank you guys for listening to me, and let's get into the show last night with NXT. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you missed anything on the channel previously, links will be down below. Follow me on Twitter at JD206. And if you guys want to support the podcast, as always, you guys know what to do. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. So, the show started off last night with the North American Championship, Keith Lee, defending his title against Cameron Grimes, who I am a very big fan of. Cameron Grimes is just that rugged, young, and tough, just Southern boy. I love it. Everything he's been doing right now, I love what Cameron Grimes is doing. And it's amazing. It's still amazing to me how we see Cameron Grimes and how far he's come along, and then we see Jordan Miles, causing all this stuff coming out of the breakout tournament. And look at where Cameron Grimes is now. If Jordan Miles was just a little bit patient, there's no doubt in my mind with the man as talented as he is in Jordan Miles, he would be right where Cameron Grimes is. And it still baffles my mind when I see guys like Garza. Garza was in that same tournament. He's now on Monday Night Raw, probably looking at a WrestleMania United States title match. And Cameron Grimes is doing his thing. Isaiah Scott was in there. He's coming up, a little slower than the others, but he's still there. He's getting some TV time. It's crazy. It really is. I was looking forward to this match. Keith Lee is phenomenal. Cameron Grimes is fantastic. And I figured these guys would have a barn burner of a match. I thought these guys were going to have a takeover level-like match. It didn't reach that height inside the Performance Center, which looked, at certain angles, by the way, NXT was at the Performance Center last night. And that was because Full Sail had some award show that they were doing, so they needed the venue. But from certain angles, you really couldn't tell the difference. When the hard cam was facing the ring, you couldn't really tell a difference between the Performance Center and Full Sail. Only when they turned and you seen the big white letters on the wall, Performance Center, and you seen the workout room in the back, or when it was on the stage, when wrestlers were making their introductions and entrances, you seen Performance Center on the big screen. It looked great. It gave the show a different feel. And the crowd was incredibly lively, which they should be. I can't assume that there was more than 500 people there, but they were lively. And it gave the show a great feel, a different feel. So we're going to see how that is going to factor into the ratings. They didn't have a takeover-like match, but I'm thinking that Cameron Grimes is not yet done with the North American Championship. There's no way that these guys went in there for 11, 12 minutes that they did last night, and this was all that they could produce. There's a part of me that knows that Keith Lee and Cameron Grimes, if given a takeover spot, they would absolutely tear it down. I don't think Cameron Grimes is there yet, but I'm loving where he is ascending to because he's got that genuine heel heat. People boo the shit out of him, and I think it's a great sight to behold. But Keith Lee wins here with the BBC the Big Bang Catastrophe. And this was a very good TV match. So there was some cat and mouse in the early portion of the match, and Grimes was trying to evade, and he was being very weaselly with Keith Lee. Lee caught Grimes on some dives. Lee had Grimes reeling, and then he threw the man's hat. Or it looked like the hat was on the steel post, and it actually fell to the floor. But either way, Cameron Grimes' hat was a fatality here, and there was some outrage. There was some outrage because of his hat. And Keith Lee said, fuck the hat. I need to beat this. I need to beat the shit out of this guy right here and there. Fuck the hat. So Grimes stripped up Lee, and Grimes then leapt into a flying crossbody before we went to our first commercial break. Really good stuff there with that crossbody. He got some height on that crossbody. Lee with a big comeback after the break. He mowed down Grimes with a crossbody block. Grimes was able to fight back. He hooked Lee for a German suplex and a bridge for a close near fall. Grimes countered a suplex into a tornado DDT. Lee kicked out of a near fall. Grimes went for his double stomp finisher, but Lee blocked him. Grimes with a super kick. Lee answered back with a pounce, and that's always a sight to behold. Lee then delivered a Big Bang Catastrophe to score the pinfall and retain the North American Championship. Damian Priest, who is looking like he will factor into the North American Championship going into TakeOver, jumped Lee after the match in a sneak attack. He had a lead pipe or a baton or a nightstick. I couldn't really make out what it was, but he nailed Keith Lee after the match. Dominik Dijakovic ran down to make the save. Dijakovic ran off Priest, and then he picked up the North American Championship. And it was in a way in which he wanted to help Keith Lee as a sign of respect, because Dijakovic has had his problems with Damian Priest as well. So at this point, Lee was getting to his feet, and Lee took offense to this. He took his anger out on Dijakovic for what Damian Priest did and gave Dijakovic a spirit bomb at the end of the match. So it looks like we might be headed towards another multi-man match at TakeOver. That's the way it seems, because there is no clear-cut winner. I don't think Triple H is going to leave out Damian Priest after he's been kind of teasing his involvement here. He wants the North American title. Cameron Grimes certainly looks to be in the hunt. I don't know why they would leave him off. Either way, if it's Grimes included or excluded, it looks like we're getting a multi-man match for the North American Championship. It's either going to be a triple threat with Lee, Dijakovic, and Priest, or a fatal four-way with Cameron Grimes included. Either way, we're looking at another multi-man match at TakeOver. And that would make, from what I could tell, we got the North American Championship, possible multi-man match. We got the ladder match is a multi-woman match. And then we got the tag team title situation, which it looks like the only three teams in NXT right now that are doing anything are the Broserweights, the Undisputed Era, and the Grizzled Young Veterans. And you're not going to leave those three teams off the show either. We've seen the Undisputed Era and Broserweights. We've seen the Grizzled Young Veterans and the Undisputed Era. And the way that the Grizzled Young Veterans have been built up on TV, you know, I love them. I think they're great, but I don't think the crowd is invested enough in them to put them against the Broserweights in a standard 2-on-2 title match. I think the Undisputed Era, and being that we got the Grizzled Young Veterans involved, it looks like we're headed towards a triple threat match for the tag team championships. A lot of multi-individual matches at TakeOver. Not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that whatsoever. And that's the WrestleMania mentality. So I don't like that at all. So we'll see what happens. And it's certainly looking like that for TakeOver. But this was great. And I like all four guys involved here. I want to see what Priest can do on a big TakeOver show in this capacity. And I want to see what Cameron Grimes could do on a TakeOver, being that it would be his first. But this was some good stuff, in the North American Championship title scene is hot and heavy. Mia Yim versus Dakota Kai with Raquel Gonzalez. This is a qualifier match for the women's ladder match at TakeOver. This was pretty good. I will admit. This was better than I expected. I'm not a big fan of Mia Yim, but Yim was very good here. Dakota Kai, I was thinking to myself, Dakota Kai has really come into her own as a heel on the NXT women's roster. She looks fantastic, and I think adding Raquel Gonzalez's growing on me week by week. They look very good together. So Yim was firing up on Kai when Gonzalez interfered here by giving Yim a snake eyes on the apron. Then the show went to commercial, so you could tell that Raquel Gonzalez was going to get involved in this thing. Kai was working over Yim when we got back from the commercial break. Yim made a comeback that led to a shotgun dropkick and a cannonball in the corner for a near fall. Kai cut her off, hit her with some team kick, and then we had the chiropractor. Love it. Love it. She really nailed that chiropractor as well. Mia Yim kicked out, and moments later, we had Yim with a powerbomb for a 2 count. Gonzalez was on the outside, obviously throwing her interference into this match with a distraction at ringside, which allowed Kai to roll up Yim. The referee I was legitimately pissed here. I'm yelling at myself, turn the fuck around. Holy shit. This idiot referee was just yelling and yelling and yelling at Raquel Gonzalez. I was pissed for Dakota Kai. I'm like, holy shit, will this guy fucking turn around and make the cover? Make the 3 count? So, with this distraction, Kai was obviously pissed off. The referee never turned around. And then we had the referee finally turn around, and Kai was so pissed, she went up to the referee. She walked right into a protect your neck. Yim covered Kai for the win, and Mia Yim advances to the ladder match at TakeOver. Now, Gonzalez obviously was pissed off at this entire situation. I'm not sure what she was feeling, if she was genuinely pissed off at the referee because she was telling the ref, turn around, don't mind me, you got a fucking match going on. Or she was upset at herself for possibly costing Dakota Kai this match. So she attacked Yim and chokeslammed her down in the middle of the ring. And that was pretty much it. Yim got to her feet as this one ended. So I was kind of thrown off by this ending because Dakota Kai had just beaten Tegan Nox in a steel cage match. You would think that the momentum is on Dakota Kai's side. And then Mia Yim, on the other hand, has been ice cold. She hasn't done anything. So I figured out of these 2 women, Dakota Kai was going to beat Mia Yim in advance to TakeOver and the ladder match. And that was not the case. Now, Dakota Kai could obviously find herself still in the ladder match. Maybe she lobbies for another qualifying match. Maybe she takes someone out. Maybe she takes Mia Yim out. And she kind of just throws herself into the ladder match. I don't know. I don't know if William Regal's going to go for that, but I was very surprised that Dakota Kai, after all the momentum that she has by beating Tegan Nox twice in her feud with Tegan Nox, is not going to be featured in the ladder match. Maybe she'll find herself in there, but I found that to be incredibly bizarre as far as the outcome goes here on NXT. Moving on, man, we have Kishida. We have Kishida and Raul Mendoza. This was some good stuff, man. This was very quick. It was fantastic for the time that they were given. And Kishida wins in 4 minutes. More Raul Mendoza on my TV. Please. Please. This was not the only time we've seen Raul Mendoza on NXT. I'll get to that in a little bit. So, Kishida and Raul Mendoza went 4 minutes. Mendoza took hold of a headlock here. Wanted a suplex, but Kishida hit his feet. Chops by Kishida. Back elbow, super kick, hip toss, cartwheel, basement drop kick by Kishida. Such a dynamic performer is Kishida. And I'm looking at Kishida, I'm like, man, I hope he stays in NXT forever because I could just tell you right now what Vince McMahon looks at when he looks at Kishida. It's not good. It's not good. I could envision Vince McMahon saying, what the fuck is so special about this guy? You know, he's got all these years experience in Japan, and this is what you're giving me? Son-in-law? The fuck is this shit? So please, Kishida, stay in NXT. You know, use your time-splitting abilities to just bypass the main roster. Stay in NXT. Go back in time travel. You know? If that time is coming where they're calling you up, just hop in your fucking DeLorean and just, go back a year or 2. You'll be good. So, we got all that offense by Kishida. Kishida went up, but Mendoza hit a step-up enziguri forearm by Mendoza. Followed Kishida up to the turnbuckle. Mendoza wanted a Spanish fly, I think, off the top, but Kishida fought it off and got a huge just armbar takedown into the hoverboard lock for an immediate tap out. And that was it. This was some good stuff. More of Raul Mendoza on TV. He is so great and very underutilized. I think he would fit in well with a lot of those cruiserweights on NXT. So we go from this to a scene out of Lost in Space. Danger! Danger! Will Robinson! We got Charlotte Flair. Oh my God, man. Charlotte Flair is in NXT. She's in the Performance Center. Rhea Ripley obviously came out first to talk about WrestleMania. She said Charlotte Flair isn't going to intimidate her ahead of WrestleMania. She said, yeah, she feels the pressure, but she's going to knock the queen on her royal ass. So obviously Charlotte Flair comes out. She's at the Performance Center here on Wednesday night for NXT. She's got a microphone, and she androids herself down to the ring. Chance of you don't go here. Thank you, Miss Belair. You guys, I made it here. I made here, she said. She told Rhea to shut her mouth and sit down. Then we got a go back to Raw chant. I love Full Sail. Oh, well, not Full. I love the NXT faithful. So we got a chant of you don't go here, which is true, and go back to Raw, which should be the case. Charlotte said this is WrestleMania. It's too much, too fast, too soon. Who the fuck are you to talk about too much, too fast, too soon? If there's a definition of that statement in the dictionary, it's Charlotte Flair. It really is. It's going to be too much for Rhea Ripley to handle, says Charlotte. So Charlotte made her way to the ring, still talking, still androiding herself to the ring. She said she'd take Rhea to deep waters and drown the fastest rising star in WWE, and she wasn't going to do a damn, and then poof, we got a brawl. So before Charlotte could finish recharging her batteries, Charlotte charged and the two brawled. Flair hit a big boot. She was wearing some high heel boots, so that had to feel nasty. Flair hit a big boot to take Rhea down. Figure 8 was blocked, but Flair baited Rhea to the nearest corner and wrapped her leg around the post, applying the figure 4 across the steel post, a la Bret the Hitman Hart. So figure 4 around the post. Flair finally released Rhea and stood above her and was reveling in the booze at the Performance Center. And we got another you don't go here chant for Charlotte Flair. This did nothing for me. This didn't do anything for me whatsoever. I mentioned this on Monday. I enjoy Rhea. I do. I've always been a fan of Rhea. The first day I laid eyes on her in the Mae Young Classic a few years back. I love what she's transformed herself into. I'm glad that she's getting the rub here. But the more, I just feel it, and I know I'm not the only one. The more I feel about Rhea Ripley, the more I don't care. I feel like they're putting her in this position because of two things. One, they know their women's division sucks on the main roster, and this is a take on a fresh match. But WWE put themselves in this situation, and WWE needs Charlotte Flair in a title match. Obviously, Becky Lynch and Charlotte can't happen. Obviously, nobody wants to see Bayley and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. So, in their mind, well, we need Charlotte Flair in a title match. How about Rhea? So I feel like this is a very disingenuous take on a women's match at WrestleMania. And I feel like this is doing more harm than good for Rhea Ripley. I just don't have any interest in this. I really don't. I would much rather see another match between Rhea and Bianca. I'd much rather see Rhea start building her legacy in NXT and then make the jump. What is this going to do for Rhea Ripley? I just feel like people are souring on Rhea Ripley because she's in this thing with Charlotte Flair, and it's nothing that Rhea Ripley's doing, really. It's all Charlotte. Charlotte is putting a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I just don't have any interest in anything Charlotte says or Charlotte does. I don't care. In fact, it's one of the matches I'm looking forward to least at WrestleMania, just because she is involved. This did nothing for me. And again, I mentioned this on Monday. I'll reiterate it here again. This is about Charlotte. It's not about Charlotte's desire to be the NXT champion. Like she comes out and says, I made here. You made the Performance Center? No, honey, the Performance Center made you, as well as your plastic surgeon. So give me a fucking break, okay? The Performance Center made you. Why is it that everybody says the Performance... Tyler Breeze today, look at the fucking polar opposites. Tyler Breeze, he said, first and foremost, the Performance Center made me. Without the Performance Center, there would be no Tyler Breeze. But Charlotte comes in and says, I made here. Yeah, she's a Flair, and yeah, it's in her character. But give me a fucking break, man. It's all about Charlotte Flair in this feud. It's not about the title. It's not about giving Rhea Ripley the rub. I'd be shocked if Rhea Ripley wins this match. Shocked. I don't know. Maybe this is WWE's way to get Charlotte on NXT for their agenda, to push Charlotte as a main roster talent, winning the NXT title on Wednesdays to combat AEW. Maybe Bianca Belair wins that ladder match, and maybe we get Bianca and Charlotte. Maybe this is WWE's way of getting Rhea and Charlotte at WrestleMania, and then Charlotte versus Bianca in NXT. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Man, this did nothing for me whatsoever. We got a really good video package with Walter. He was shown destroying pretty much anyone and everyone in NXT UK. Finn Balor did a voiceover during this entire thing. He put over Walter, held up his passport, and suggested the match will be at TakeOver Dublin. Now, I said, and I predicted with WrestleMania season, I figured Walter would be here in the States as he was last year, beating Pete Dunne at TakeOver in New York. At that show, beating Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship. So, I figured that Walter would do the same thing here, maybe drop it to Finn in the States here at TakeOver in Tampa. But being that Finn showed his passport, he was either doing one of two things. I think NXT UK is live tonight from wherever they are. And they hyped that show a couple times on last night's show, live. Has the show ever been live before? I don't really tune into NXT UK. I keep updated. I see what's going on via the spoilers and whatnot and the results, but I don't really have time to watch because I'm doing other things on Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday, come that, I'm done with my week. I don't want any more wrestling. But either one of two things. One, that was meaning he was going to show up and make the challenge there for Tampa, or it's going to be in Dublin. I don't know. I figured that with TakeOver Tampa, Balor on the card makes sense. He is part of this. It's their show. So he challenges Walter. Walter's obviously not going to turn him down, and they do it in Tampa. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But with the president of the United States pretty much canceling all incoming flights from that part of the world into the United States, I just found it to be quite bizarre that they went and kept hyping that up. You know, it was just bad timing, I would say, on that promo by Finn Balor to hold up his passport, saying that he's going to go over there. If he goes over there, he might not be able to come back. So we'll see what happens. So Mia Yim was interviewed. She said at TakeOver, she would be in her own elements. Right next to her, a van drove by with two guys in suits and conquistador masks. And they grabbed Raul Mendoza, kidnapped him, and threw him into the van and drove away. Grand Theft Auto style. Now, a lot of people were wondering, who is this? Who is this? What's going on with Raul Mendoza? If you guys are aware, NXT had signed, and he's under contract. He's been under contract for a little bit now. He's at the Performance Center of King Cuerno, formerly of Lucha Underground, also known as El Hijo del Fantasma. That's his name. So we got King Cuerno. I don't know what he's going by in WWE. Real name, Jorge Luis Alcantar Bali. That's who I think was the one who kidnapped Raul Mendoza. And if you go to his Wikipedia page, I got it queued up here, we have him in WWE, and as of February 15th, he was teaming with Raul Mendoza to defeat two local enhancement talents at a show in Fort Pierce in Florida. So that was that. So I'm assuming it is the individual known as King Cuerno from Lucha Underground, if you guys remember him. I don't know what he's going by, like I said, in WWE, so we will figure that out sooner rather than later. So it's going to be very interesting. If this gets, like I said, Raul Mendoza on TV more, I would be very happy with that. Tegan Nox versus Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is too good. She is too good to be in a squash match that ended in 2 minutes here. Tegan Nox wins in 2 minutes. Purrazzo, I want to see more of. It seems like she's just waiting for her opportunity. Everything is just happening around her, and it's not her time yet. For all you Deonna Purrazzo fans out there, it's just not her time yet. But Tegan Nox wins in about 2.5 minutes here. Bicycle kick by Purrazzo. Fujiwara armbar. She went for a finishing move, but Nox rolled over into a crucifix to break it up, and then followed by the shiniest wizard, which slightly connected, not all the way. It wasn't the shiniest of wizards, it was just a shiny wizard. So she wins with that, and Tegan Nox advances to the ladder match. This was a qualifier for the ladder match at TakeOver. So that was good. I figured Deonna would look a little bit better here, but obviously Tegan Nox winning this was the right call because she's been pushed and Deonna has not. So hopefully Deonna gets some TV time, more TV time in the coming weeks. We got the Broserweights defending the NXT Tag Team Championships against Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish of the Undisputed Era. So I gotta mention, when did this happen in my notes? Let me see when this, because Velveteen Dream came out. Velveteen Dream came out, let me see. Yes, this was after the women's match. So Undisputed Era came out before the tag team title match. And Velveteen Dream, they were all in the ring. Velveteen Dream was on the little eagle perch, the little platform above the commentary table. So they were all in the ring, and then Velveteen Dream's music hits the PA, and he stood on the platform. He ran down Roderick Strong for being dumber than he looks. This was never about Roderick Strong, he said. He stares down Adam Cole, and this was only about the NXT Championship. So he stares down Adam Cole, and he says, the next NXT champion is the Velveteen Dream. Cole wants Roddy to settle it with Dream right now, but Dream snapped his fingers and said this was never about Roddy. This was always about Adam Cole. Adam Cole went on and on and on about how the Dream has done nothing to deserve an NXT championship match. Yes, you locked me in a cage, but I love the fact that Cole was being logical. He said, you lost to Roderick Strong. You actually lost the steel cage match. So what makes you think you deserve a shot at the NXT Championship? In fact, next week, we're having a celebration, baby. Adam Cole is having a World Championship celebration next week, next Wednesday. I wish they would have booked him and Balor, because he is going to surpass Balor, and that would have been a perfect opportunity to get another match between those two. But I guess they're not going that route, because Balor is obviously occupied with Walter in the NXT UK title. But there will be a championship celebration, and next Wednesday, Adam Cole will be the longest reigning NXT champion in NXT history. So, like I said, Velveteen Dream snapped his fingers, and then out came the Broserweights, and then this match started. We got Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This one went nearly 20 minutes. I enjoyed their match more so at TakeOver than I did here. I just feel like, and the reason why I say that is because I just feel, you feel it, everybody feels it. It's the time. The time is up for the UA, the UE. Their time in NXT is over. I just feel like they will be moving on from the Undisputed Era, and they will be killed by Vince McMahon sooner rather than later. I just feel it. They're not going to win back the NXT Tag Team titles. Adam Cole is going to lose to the Velveteen Dream. They're clearly setting the Undisputed Era up for a demotion to the main roster, and that scares the ever-living shit out of me. That scares me more than any outbreak, honestly. Just look at Ricochet and look at everybody else that has fallen in the demotion to the main roster. So after some early exchanges and grappling, we had the Broserweights run wild, bro. So they cleaned house. We go to an early commercial. Fish and O'Reilly were obviously in control coming back from commercial. So they did their thing. The Undisputed Era did their thing as one of the best tag teams in the world, and they cut the ring off, and they built to the hot tag with Pete Dunne getting the hot tag from Bro, Matt Riddle. So Dunn trapped O'Reilly in a triangle, and the other members of the UE, I keep saying a UE, motherfucker. UE interfered from the outside to help break up the hold. Riddle jumped off Dunn's back into a flip to the outside. Cole rolled into the ring, and Dunn pulled the old Eddie Guerrero trick. So we got this situation. This was easily the highlight of the match. Matt Riddle was running wild, bro, on these guys on the outside. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he might have been stoned for a second because he took out O'Reilly and Fish, but he took out everybody. But he threw in Adam Cole and Roderick Strong in the ring. So Pete Dunne sees this, and the referee had his back turned. So he makes a snap with his hand or whatever. You know how they slap their leg? You know, when they do a big super kick or a big kick. So he made that snapping sound, and then he falls down. And then he pretended as if Adam Cole gave him a super kick. Roddy, hysterically. Roddy playing it out, fucking scene by scene. He's yelling at the referee, telling the referee that we didn't touch him, we didn't lay a hand on him. Roddy is falling down. He's pretending like he got kicked, and then he's falling down. It was absolutely hilarious stuff by the Undisputed Era. Matt Riddle comes over looking stoned out of his mind. He's like mimicking a super kick. He's like, yeah, bro, Adam Cole kicked Pete Dunne with a super kick, bro. So the referee was kicking these guys out of the ringside area. It was great. It was just fucking comedy greatness. And then Pete Dunne obviously did the old Eddie Guerrero trick. Dunne went down like Cole struck him. Cole pleaded his case. Referee ejected Cole and Strong. Riddle and Dunne then did the shrug that they usually do. Oh, well, bro. Oh, well. So Fish and O'Reilly were walked over by Dunne as the show came back from a second commercial break. Riddle then ran wild again with some suplexes after he tagged back into the match. Fisherman Buster netted him at 2 counts on O'Reilly. So we got the Broserweights both landing on their feet on attempted German suplexes. They then hit the Undisputed Era with stereo kicks. Dunne and O'Reilly were trading strikes as they both went down. Then there was a blind tag spot that set up O'Reilly doing bombs away. And Dunne jumped in to break up the pin attempt. O'Reilly flew off the apron with a knee drop on Dunne. Fish and O'Reilly were looking to finish the match, but Riddle then came back against the Undisputed Era with some double team moves. The grizzled young veterans come out in their suits to distract at ringside during the match. This means that O'Reilly got a near fall on a roll-up attempt due to the distraction. The veterans were then taken out when Fish was backdropped on top of them to the outside. Riddle and Dunne then hit O'Reilly with the double team knee strikes, and Dunne covered O'Reilly to score the pinfall. So that was it, and it looks like we got the grizzled young veterans, the Undisputed Era, and the Broserweights possibly leaning towards a triple threat match at TakeOver in Tampa. So that was that. Very good. I prefer the match at TakeOver in Portland, but obviously they're all building here between these 3 teams because when you look at it, they're the only 3 teams right now in NXT, and it's a shame that tag team wrestling is still great in NXT. Don't get me wrong, with the caliber of athletes that you got in that division, but they need some more solid tag teams. So we'll see what happens moving forward in the tag team division after TakeOver. They announced Candice LaRae versus Mercedes Martinez in a qualifying match for the TakeOver ladder match between 6 women. Number 1 contender. Candice has not been on TV as of late. And Mercedes Martinez was just recently signed to WWE. She's reported to NXT, so it looks like Candice LaRae might be buried. I don't want to say buried, but squashed in a match with Mercedes Martinez. That just makes logical sense to me. Candice has been ice cold, so I figured that they would go with Mercedes Martinez here at TakeOver. And then this obviously led to the greatest brawl in NXT history. One of the best brawls in pro wrestling that I have ever seen, between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. This was some crazy shit, man. I don't know who is still scratching their heads over a possible feud between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know why anybody would complain after watching this shit last night. This was fucking crazy. It was chaos. I can watch these guys wrestle every week. I love it. Nobody thought that Johnny was going to be a viable heel, especially not in the same way that Tommaso Ciampa was a heel, but man, he did an excellent job last night. Holy shit. I also thought that the Performance Center played for a beautiful backdrop to the chaos here. It gave it a different look. It was a totally different look than what we seen at Full Sail. I don't think this would have went off as well as it did at Full Sail, especially during the beginning portions of this big brawl. I am legitimately shocked that WWE, they legitimately tore down. They absolutely destroyed the Performance Center. Glass breaking, the gym equipment being used, mirrors in the fucking gym being broken, glass doors being broken, the medical staff and all their tools fucking thrown all about. There was a reception area where there was phones and a printer. That got destroyed. I think Johnny Gargano went into, he was actually cutting a promo in one of the meeting rooms where I'm sure they do all their fucking creative meetings. A wall in their meeting room was fucking destroyed. This was sheer chaos at the Performance Center. Unbelievable stuff. So this was Johnny explaining why he did it. Now, the premise of this, in the simplest ways for me to explain it to you, Tommaso Ciampa came back and he was looked at as a hero. Daddy's home. Johnny Gargano takes issue with this because he said Tommaso Ciampa is a trash human being. He's a vile human being. He is the worst person in NXT history. You all embrace this guy like a hero. Do you realize what he did to everybody when he was NXT champion? Do you realize that? Did he give anybody an apology? He just came back and wanted Goldie. Why is this man redeemed of his previous crimes? That's why Johnny did it. Because he feels like Tommaso Ciampa did so much damage and then just comes back and thinks he's going to be the hero. That's the reason why Johnny Gargano did what he did. Now, while Gargano was talking, cutting a promo, telling us why, Ciampa was headed to the room where Gargano was speaking. You heard him. You heard Tommaso Ciampa just yelling, walking the hallways, and then he finds the room in which Gargano was in, and the two start fighting all over the PC. Ciampa hit Johnny with a framed WrestleMania poster. Johnny went into the wall. Wall was destroyed. They fought into the medical area where Ciampa was beating down Gargano, clearing out security. Security guards went down. Then they went into the gym area, if you ever wanted to see where they all work out, destroyed. One of them went into a glass window. Ciampa went through a plate glass window, and that was destroyed. So there was a couple of bleeps. They were really making this intense. They really tried to sell this shit. And two referees tried to break this up. Gargano beat down Ciampa with some weights. Gargano went for a big weight and tried to brain Ciampa with it. But Ciampa blocked, grabbed it, took it to Johnny's stomach. Ciampa then threw a weight at Gargano, who ducked and then broke a huge mirror in the back of the training facility in the gym at the Performance Center. So they battled past some lockers all the way back to the ring. Now they're by the ringside area in the crowd to exchange right hands, and they were brawling. Morrow said, after all this, we still don't know why. Johnny Gargano just explained why. Maybe he doesn't know why because he was still, I guess, crestfallen over what Johnny Gargano did to him in that promo last week, but we know why. Morrow made himself seem a little silly there. So they did the barricade spot where they went through the barricade and more plants were taken out. Typical NXT scene there with all the plants being taken out. Ciampa then dragged Johnny to the announce table, but Johnny fought him off and headed up to the Eagle Eye perch, that little perch above where Morrow and the commentary team sit. Ciampa followed with two shots. Ciampa tried to throw Johnny over. Johnny removed the part of the barricade. He picked up Ciampa into a fireman's carry, but Ciampa fought out, and Ciampa was hanging on to the other barricade. He was loosening that barricade. Gargano escaped then by Gargano on top of this Eagle Eye perch, and we got another referee who went up there to plead with Johnny to stop, but Johnny punched the referee in the face, and Nigel said, oh, that's going to cost him. Johnny hit a super kick on Ciampa. Then he was draped over the edge of this platform. Johnny said he wanted everyone to watch and see this moment. Everybody was just in awe. You heard every word out of Johnny's mouth. He got in Ciampa's face. Ciampa quickly recovered, hit an air raid crash off this Eagle Eye perch, and down through the announce table. Chants of holy shit. Both guys were laid out in this fucking carnage that ended NXT last night. The one thing Ciampa with the air raid crash came right. I replayed it about 3 or 4 different times. It looks like, and I hope I'm wrong, Johnny Gargano fell right into this rubble with Ciampa's weight just coming down all on top of him, on top of his shoulder. If Johnny Gargano is not hurt, I am going to be fucking floored. Either he is the best seller of all time and really made this thing stand out and believable, and he was selling the carnage and he's not hurt. Either he's the best seller of all time, or this main event, this match, this 4th match, this final match, or what should be the final match, is going to be canceled. There's no way. It looked like he was legitimately hurt. And I hope I am wrong. I really am. I'm hoping I'm wrong. This looked brutal. And I thought this was fantastic. Now, with William Regal, they announced it after the show on Twitter. William Regal's going to address the carnage and everything that happened at the PC between Ciampa and Gargano. Man, if this does not set up a Hell in a Cell match, I don't know what the fuck does. Seriously. After that, there's only one structure in WWE history that's going to contain the fucking chaos that these guys did, and that's a Hell in a Cell match. That is a Hell in a Cell. I don't know what's going to happen. I would hope that's the case. I hope that they come out and say, this is it. This is it. You guys want to beat the shit out of each other? I'm going to contain all this fucking chaos. You ain't going to do any of this anymore. Loser leaves town, Hell in a Cell. That's it. And then Johnny Gargano gets called up to the main roster where he's ultimately killed off and his career's over. Because we all know Ciampa's not going to the main roster. He said so himself. If he goes to the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, he's retiring. Same thing should happen with Johnny Gargano. Anyway, this was a very good episode of NXT, and this was a great pitch to take over Tampa. We just don't know what's going to happen with Takeover Tampa with all this outbreak shit and what's happening in the world right now. But obviously, Takeover is being built. This Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa situation is on fire. I love it. It was one of the best brawls I've ever seen. Surprised that they went to the lengths that they did at the PC. And they'll be back at Full Sail next week. But this is going to be a very interesting situation with Johnny Gargano. I will keep you guys updated on what is going on with that situation, if he's injured or not. Guys, thank you so very much for all your support. If you enjoyed the podcast, let me know down below. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think Johnny's injured or not? Are you excited about their upcoming match? Do you think it's going to be a Hell in a Cell? Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys go check out all the other content on the channel if you have not done so yet. And Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Guys, I will see you all right back here on Friday with Off the Script to start the weekend. Should be very interesting, man. It's going to be a loaded show. Whatever happened on Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT, all the news coming out of all 4 brands. And then obviously I will keep you guys updated all weekend long about Wrestlemania and its possible cancellation or postponement. So we'll talk about that. Again, guys, hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of everything. And I will see you all right back here for Off the Script episode 317 right here on Friday afternoon. Obviously, we got SmackDown. I don't even know what's happening with SmackDown. I heard that it was canceled in Detroit, then I heard it wasn't canceled. I heard it was going to be in the PC. I heard the PC is nothing more than a backup plan. Don't know what's going on. But it's going to be very weird to see John Cena and Roman Reigns inside a WWE ring, inside the corner. I'll keep you guys updated. It should be a very, very busy, newsworthy weekend coming out of WWE, and I'll be covering it all on Off the Script. See you guys then.